Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to, what are we doing today? What are we doing? Yeah. It came from the workbench of a number TBD. I'm not 100% sure. I can't for the life of me. Okay, we're cutting to the chase. So, many hours, too many spent, we're building the twins, and we had hopes. We had high hopes of the second one being the other side of installing the suspension on your car, where you figure out how to do it on the first side, and then you just do it on the second side. And we'll get to that. So this is authentically Ghost Ride ready. The towers are cut out of Amazon black acrylic. I cut them over on the laser. They are extremely rigid, as the body mounts are just made of Delrin. These are Vanquish body mount posts. I had to drill each one of these has 24 holes in it, because I wanted them to be adjustable if we need to move the shocks. I only just moments ago finished building the shocks. They went together nicely. I've run completely out of bladders. My last 4 bladders were those right there. There are so many things being tested right here. Ordinarily, we're going to bounce all over the place today. This is what I've been going with, either the Gorilla clear tape or the 3M clear tape, because if you buy the actual clear tapes, like this is Yeah Racing, the roll is much smaller and it costs more. These are about $8-9 a roll. Used to be about $6-7 a roll. And when I say used to, I mean 2023. So they're up to like $9 a roll now. So we browse Amazon, and these guys are also testing, what is it called? Wotech double-sided tape. So far, and this is a lot, $8. So far, early impressions are very good because the tape is very thick. It's like 1/8 of an inch thick. So the backing, it almost feels really super gummy, almost like you're shoe gluing it down, so you can like wiggle your parts around. It doesn't stick them down rock hard, which is kind of what you want. You don't want it rigidly mounted. You want it stuck, but you want it to have some wiggle to it. So that's testing as we're going. The idea of laser cutting acrylic shock towers out of an 1/8 inch acrylic, that is under testing. The last of the the required A-main parts came in. These are the sliders for Pro Ultra. And of course they just bolt right up. You know me, man, I'm not a huge fan of sliders, but we're going to give it a try. These are very, very big. And with the tucked body, I just chose spacings at random. I probably could have gone a little further apart, but I wanted big screw embedment. These are 25mm screws to mount the shocks to these extra screws so nothing flops around. And because the sliders are so big, when you get the body set down, the body really sets down. Everything is nice. We should get minimal angry Lexan noises. This might need a little more round arch in it. It's very squared off at the top. The front, we should actually be quite good. Maybe a little bit right there. And I'm not opposed to rounding that out a little more. So, did it come out the way that I had hoped / anticipated? Tomax is red. I don't know. I don't know yet. We're going to find out when we get out on the go. Yeah, I think they can't. We can't knock them all out of the park. I think this 35 kg. Hear that sound? Okay. I think it's a little sick. It's got a little going back that way. Not great. Might not matter. Might just be it's missing a tooth. I don't know. We're gonna find out if it blows up. It was a 2-pack for $50, so it could. This is a $25 experiment atop a bunch of other experiments. This is the Reedy Crawler 550, powered by the venerable, like the SC480X, the worst speed control in the world. Everybody. Like, I want you to pay attention to the speed at which that tire is moving. That is 3S through a 550 motor. And I want to find my best buddy here, the calculator. Calculator of... It was Mr. Osalo, he of the giant keys. He was right where I left him. The only pinions I could find that were short enough was a 14 tooth. The spur is a 44. We divide that by 14. That is 3.1428. So we're going to go 3.14, 3.14. And then the internal ratio of the box is 3.66. That is 11.4924 to 1. We have the regular 830s in the axles. So that is 3.75. So we times that by 3.75. 43.0965 to 1. But then we have the portal reduction brought to us by knockoff Vanquish portals, which is 1.6. Oh, what up, Brown? Yeah, 69 to 1. 69 to 1 FDR. And what I would like you to pay closest attention to when we're speaking in terms of the SC480X is that you can go from this to this instantaneously. The amount of low-speed creep that you have is like the tread is a blur. Like, look at the speed that we're getting on the under-driven shaft. Can I go any slower? No. There. Stopped. It's awful. But, ladies and gentlemen, cats and kittens, what we have to do is we have to quantify. We have to quantify how terrible it actually is. So in order to do that, we can't allow our brains time to refresh. We have to drive it in all of its terribilosity, and then we have to compare it to something of equal or potentially greater terribilosity. And if you're in the canyon, you're surfing, if you're going to do it once, it's so nice we had to do it twice. Tomax, Zaymot, and yes, everyone, it did work out as hoped, which is the amount of time to build that one is probably 4 times as long as it took to build this one. It was almost stress-free building this one. There was the potential risk of a mental breakdown reared its head when I pulled the gearbox apart, because you have to completely disassemble this gearbox in order to get a pinion gear into it. It's fun. Because the screws to hold the motor in, the only way to get them in is to take the front block off. And if you've taken it, once you've taken those off, you've taken it apart. The pin that holds the gear, the intermediate gear that determines which side is underdrive and which side is conventional drive, that pin shifted a little and I couldn't get it back together. I probably fought it for 20 minutes to the point where I was like, just go on A-Main, order 2 Stealth X gearboxes, and start over. But you can't say that the stuff doesn't sit low. It's basically barely above the chassis rail. Someone in the comments said, looks a little far back. I do not disagree. But I could move it forward another 8 millimeters, maybe. Another 8 millimeters forward is about the best you could do. I think instead we're just going to offset as necessary by slapping weight up front. We'll put weight up front. Even, like I had said before, even if it's just brass rings inside the wheels to bring some weight forward, because I took a picture of the scales. So it's on my phone right here. I took a picture of the scales. So, on your right, that is Tomax, firstborn, and he is called Red because he's red. And then this guy is Blue because he's blue. It's red versus blue. It's Tomax and Zaymot. We're going to have to fit the figures, which is why I didn't bother to go through anything like full corner weighting, anything like that. We don't go through that kind of hullabaloo before we do a ghost ride. We just wanted to get the bodies fitted. And yes, they have both been fitted with Phoenix rear bumpers, because the way the little tucked body, I can show you. The way the little tucked body, and before they're painted, it doesn't matter which one goes on which. They are effectively interchangeable. So the way the body used to come to, I've toothed it. The way the body used to come down on the back, it hung down just right to the level of the rails, and I could see it just grabbing and popping. Our departure should be nuts. Our approach should be nuts. It's kind of almost got stoppy mode, but kind of falls back. Everything looks A-okay. Oh, let's just set his lid down on top of him. That way we look, we look more uniform. So on your right, you've got Tomax, firstborn. Zaymon on this side. Tomax is sitting at 2836 in the grams. That is exactly as he sits. RTR with a battery and a body and clips on him and everything. Fully RTR mode, 2836. And this gentleman over here is 2774. And you might say, well, you were building two identical things. Yeah. 550, 14 turn 550 in there, 16 turn 540 in here. So to any questions as to whether or not a 550 weighs more than a 540, yeah, significantly more to that effect. And it gets worse. But wait, it's worse. His cross weight is 5149, and his is dead 50-50. And I don't just mean dead 50-50. I mean 1387, perfectly crossed up. So this motor, too heavy. Just too heavy. It throws his whole balance off. They both sit at pretty much exactly 5248, which is mid-motor sports car, almost. Slightly forward motor sports car. Yeah, I was hoping and praying to the gods for 5545, but we're back a ways. And it's not surprising. Everything sits pretty much amidships. Now, I don't know how impactful that couple of percent is going to be, because, as I have said in the past, vocally and often, I don't think that fore to aft weight is nearly as critical as people make it out to be. The solution is geometry and the proportion of weight that is unsprung versus the proportion that is sprung. Those are the critical things. And I didn't do the math. You ready? What is it? Hey Siri, what's 2,836 grams in pounds?
The answer is 6.25 pounds.
All right, so we're just over 6 pounds for these boys, and that is not surprising. That does not surprise me in any way. The VS410 chassis is a whole lot of plastic. When you look at this gent from underneath, look at the width of that. That's 8 inches of plastic wide. Now they are up pretty high, and there's not a lot of stuff there. So these, by stuff, I mean like ridges. They should slide. They should slide. I also made the executive decision. I had pointed out in the first one that we were going to do cut-to-length drive shafts. I don't know if these gearboxes, the OD3s, will be survivable. And by that, I don't mean will they be durable. I mean, will I be able to mentally withstand putting them together and taking them apart every time I have to do something as simple as a pinion change? Because the point of these two gentlemen is to test things side by each, which is why I did not go through the rigmarole and the problem of mounting a 540 in each, knowing that they would be driven for about 2 minutes that way, and then I would have to take one complete gearbox apart in order to bolt a 550 into it. So there you go. Because I want to test different types of 35 turns against each other. I want to test all kinds of things. One tire side by side directly against another one. The first episode, this episode outdoors is going to be the double Ghost Ride for these guys. And then they're going to get painted, one body blue, one body red. We will figure out how to mount a figure in them because they need it. They need it. They need the character. And if I can get their legs tucked way up under here, maybe we can eke a little bit more weight forward. And you know, it might be, I've done it before. I've got steel wheel weights. You just there's enough space under the servo. You can put steel wheel weights under the servo. Get just a couple ounces up on the front axle. I noticed that as of the time of recording this, Mias has, you can't find their portal weights anywhere on their website. They must be redesigning them because a lot of people had problems with interference between the portal weight and SLW hubs. I did as well. So that's my suspicion there. So we don't have a lot of weight adding options available to us right now, other than putting the weight in the wheels. And I'm not opposed. It's not optimal, but it's also inexpensive, and it's right here. I've got brass rings right behind me. So they're a couple grams different. I have driven them around on the floor inside the shop, as you can tell by the cleanliness of them and the completely non-scratchedness of them. These haven't been anywhere yet. One guy is easier to get the body on. They're already different. The joke that someone had made during the live stream, build two identical two-stroke engines. One runs great, the other one doesn't even work. We're already going that way. One of these guys, I think it's Zaymont, his skirts, his chassis sides, they kind of flare out like that. They kind of dip. And they dip because someone who shall remain nameless didn't sand enough off of this, so the edges of the C channel pressed on it, and the bolts are very strong. So they flexed the rails, and they went like that, and they kind of angled down. So when you set the body on him, the body sets down really easily, if I can get over the pins, and it just drops on. This guy, you kind of got to push the hood down to get and the bodies are identical. You can just swap them back and forth. They are identical in every way. One body also set on the vehicle overnight, so it has been. This guy still has a little bit. He wants to curve in a little. With the Pro Ultra sliders, it's very slab-sided out, so there's a lot of room in there. But these bodies are not particularly heavy, and honestly, they could sit 3 millimeters lower. But to lower that body by 3 millimeters, we've got to trim the side. No. I don't want to have to chop them up any more than I already have. Just from the scooting around on the floor, the 550, contrary to what your brain would expect, is significant. I hope the mic gets that. The 550 is significantly faster than the 540 on the same gearing. Like 50% faster. Irresponsibly faster. And I had never bought an RTR from Element that came with the 540. I'd only bought ones that came with the 550. So we're gonna find out. It's half Ghost Ride. It's half this or that. It's half worster or worstest between the Reedy Crawler 540 and 550. They both have, and they're both on SC480Xs. And then, oh yes, to complete the thought that I began and then just ran away from moments ago. The next installment, after these guys have been fitted with gents and their bodies have been painted, and we got two good-looking boys out there, will be the Boxo Reedy, brought courtesy of y'all. 540 versus 550, SC480 versus SC400, SC400 versus SC500, SC500 versus SC480. We're gonna run the gauntlet and run the gamut, and we're gonna get to see them all. These guys will then get fitted with they'll go into another test, which will be testing. I would love to see, if I got to dig through my bin to see if I have two identical 540 motors or 550 motors, but preferably 540 motors that are completely identical. And I would like to test 1080 Generation 1 versus 1080 G2 side by side. These guys, for their day-to-days, will more than likely be fitted with Gen 1 1080s or potentially Radiolink Cool 9030s. Don't know yet. We'll see. We will see. And we're going to see things like, I have 35-turn motors at 3 different price points. I've got a $15 one, a $50 one, and a $90 one. What's the difference? Like, what's the difference? Side by side. Side by each, what's the difference between the two? This guy, he may end up, then another side-by-side comparison might be DS Power's take on the 35 kg market, the green case in place of the blue case, because I don't know. I've never heard a servo sound like that and translate that into longevity. So, we will make no efforts to keep these, but yeah, see, I gotta push it down a little. That's because his wings, he's completely out of frame. That's because the side wings on this guy dip down a little. See how perfectly flat those sit down? And these don't. So when the bodies are pinned, there's no body rattle at all. They are dead, silent, stealthy on the bodies. 330 wheelbase, I think I pointed out last time, and the wheel track outside to outside 255, which I think is pretty much perfect. Right at 10 inches. Standard offset wheel. They're good-looking boys. We figured Ghost Ride means no driver, because nobody drives Ghosts. Ghosts drive themselves. So we're going to do that. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Oh, I'd be remiss if we didn't. I gave in. I gave in because I was digging through, and I had another one in the box, which was for a build that comes up after these. But you know what? We'll just order another radio. So this will make things easier on me because I am by nature energy conserving. And once we get these guys up to speed and on pace and doing the things, I'm sure that the comments will be filled endlessly of this versus that. And these guys are going to do a lot of this versus that. And having the two of them will allow for little interstitials where we'll be able to do just little installments where somebody will say, well, what about this tire versus this tire? And I'll be like, that's going to take like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Boom, bam, bust it out. Throw one on him, and go. So that's where we're shooting for. That's what we're going to do. And before we get to all that, we're going to make sure the batteries are charged. We're going to make sure the bodies are clipped on. We're going to head out, and we're going to do the things. Or we were going to see if these two gentlemen can indeed do the things at 52-48 weight distribution. Not optimal, but not a killer. So, I will meet all of you out there. And so we begin. This will be something of a mental test because as they sit right now, aside from different beadlock rings, they are physically and cosmetically identical. One has red rings and one has blue rings. I'm going to be doing the tip the radio. Okay, this goes to the red one. The original plan, and I think we're altering that original plan already, was to paint one body red and one body blue, and we're going to do that. But I was going to mix the beadlock rings, so the red ones would be on the blue body and the blue ones would be on the red body. Can my brain handle it? I don't know. We are already also here in this is a Ghost Ride plus a this or that, because we've got this guy, red, is on the 550, which is why, like, you can tell already. You want to tell? Right? Is it just more torque, or is it just like significantly faster? And it shouldn't be. What better way to test an early build than to put the worst electronics in the world in it? The Amazon shocks are feeling nice. Oh, you know what? Yeah. 6 point some odd pounds. What was it, 6 1/4? What did Siri tell me? I think she told me 6 1/4. Yeah, that felt absolutely perfectly fine. Okay, I'll tell you this right now. The 540 feels a little snappier right when you roll the trigger on. Right when the trigger is initially depressed, it's snappier. You know what it also feels like? Because it has less torque, I would call, we got to do the drag brake test. I would call the 550. The 550 is like an inline 6, and the 540 is like a 4-cylinder, like a high revving, maybe forced induction 4-cylinder. Turn is appropriately sharp. They did this. I mean, this is Cut Canyon Trails, so this is Cut Canyon Trail stuff. Honestly, okay. We will formulate an opinion over time. But as we begin now, there's a little more of a feeling of low speed control from the 550. But the not fidelity, the granularity of pulling the trigger. The 550 is fits and starts. I think the 540 is fooling me into thinking it's smoother by just not having as much torque. The torque in this comes on just more abruptly. Oh, it's already some fraternal rivalry. We'll pause there. Okay. Now we want to see. It's so fresh in the brain now. I saw where the slip was. Oh, why did I think I could just park him up there? Look at him rolling back. And that's the 550. Oh, it's so good. Okay. Oh, it is abrupt. Okay, 540 up. Yeah, right? A little stutter, a little shudder. The 550, you have to move the trigger too far to go from one throttle input to the other. There's just deadbands after deadbands after deadbands. It looks like the throttle response to trigger pressure would look like a seismograph with like the peak valley, peak valley, peak valley, peak valley. The 540, because it's more of a torqueless wonder, you can actually trick it into almost behaving. Yeah, they steer fine. They feel pretty much the same. And where have we arrived, everybody? We've arrived right there. We've arrived at exactly where we want to be, which is I can tell the differences between the power plants. It is immediately noticeable. And what? We need, as requested by the comments, you know it's a perfect spot to test inferior drag brake? Just go straight to the ramp. So in my haste, a couple of errors. I didn't put any screws or pins into Zaymot's Blues back bumper, so when I picked him up to carry him, he just fell off, so he's already hit the ground. And as I was carrying him, I was trying to drive Tomax one-handed, clipped a rock and rolled him, so we've already scuffed the body. Okay. The drag brake is honestly greater than I thought it would be. And I think that has to be, power 69, bro. So much gear reduction. Yeah, sure, we're rolling all the way back down to the bottom of the hill. But ordinarily, these Reedy combos will just roll away. They will just roll away. Because they come in element vehicles that are right around 40-to-1 final. So we've got, is that 75% more? I think 66% more. It's either 66% more or 75% more gear reduction. And gear reduction helps. So also, this, what is this spell for the future? Because these motors are way too hot to be put in rock crawlers. The 540 and the 550 should both be half the speed that they are. And the S80, the SC480X, may it not rest in peace. May it roll forever in the flames of eternal damnation. Because there's no, the term I like to stick with is granularity. There's no the feel on the trigger, it just feels, it's not sloppy. It's that the amount of trigger input you have to give to get the throttle response is not commensurate. And it's the same, like the 540 has the same torque as the or the same amount of drag brake, which, what would we call that? Effective torque? Most notably, they both lift. They both lift a tire at like the exact same spot. They feel pretty much identical, but there's more of the throttle feels better on blue, on the 540. The 540 just feels better. And here's the thing. I mean, if you take the drug long enough, you don't notice you're taking the drug anymore. I don't know. I don't take drugs. Basically, I don't notice the SC480X. I'm so primed in anticipation of how bad the SC480X is. Well, it's his first. There's his first. We got one over. We got one over. Oh, well, I mean, yeah, we're here. We're here. So 52.48, but underdriven. Honestly, there's a little bit more. Like he goes about 1.5 lines less. But yeah, the drag brake is worse on the 550. If there was an unanticipated result here, it would be that. It would be that. And I have to take both of their gearboxes apart because you will notice, hear his little growliness? That is because Tomax Red is on a ProTech, I believe I mentioned a ProTech aluminum pinion. I'm not a huge fan of them. But Zaymont is on one of those $12 for a pack of 5 Amazon pinions. Definitely, I never thought, I mean, it's ludicrous to make this claim, but I did not think that I would be able to tell the difference of 60 grams. But yeah. Because of the throttle, the enhanced throttle response, relatively speaking, of the blue fella on the 540. Here's the thing. I had often said that none of the elements that I've bought, I'd never gotten an RTR that came fitted with that motor, with the 16-turn 540. It's still terrible, particularly paired with an SC480. But it is definitely less terrible than the 550. The 550 is king garbage. It is so much worse than the 540, and if I had expected any outcome today, it would be the opposite of that. Like, it's smaller, it's lighter, it's going to make less torque, but the drag brake, the amount of drag brake in both is effectively the same. Identical SC480Xs, identical everything else. The weight differential is in the motor, and the driving characteristics overall are better on the 540 at everything. Let's do a little bit of the thing. This is 550. Sometimes I feel like, I don't know, it could be perception. I feel like I can hear those peaks and, oh, don't let go. The 480, if the 480X is at the party, you can't just pause mid-obstacle and talk about it. It will just roll away. I feel like I can hear those peaks and valleys. I do love a long wheelbase. Long wheelbase and portals will make up for a lot. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna park this guy right here. And while it's fresh, 540 in. There's definitely a different sound. And it's just more responsive. Like, a lot more responsive. When you get into more technical stuff, boy, do you notice the 540 more in that how it's not terrible. It's just so much more responsive. Do I not hate the Reedy Crawler 16 turn 540? I mean, drag brake is still virtually non-existent, but oh, it's so much better than the 550. I want to try some stuff. Nope, not that stuff. We want to try to roll them minimally today. We are going to side hill. We'll close out on the side hill. See the entry line here. The 18% feels super organic, and because of messing around with the back holes and the overlapping back links, the anti-squat really feels like it's 100% doing the thing today. And I know there's a forming consensus on the internet that underdrive and anti-squat cancel themselves out. I think to a point, but I don't think wholesale. Because here we're at 18% and we have as much rear link separation. It's just so much quicker. The front end behaves a lot more quickly on the 540. But you can't, you've got underdrive, but the underdrive is not changing the geometry. Other than the motor, they do as hoped, which is drive pretty much exactly the same. I can point these two gents into the same that's anti-squat right there. This is where underdrive doesn't help us as much. What's the takeaway here? I think above anything else, how good are canyon trails, folks? How good are canyon trails? I don't know. I didn't even look. I looked up on the tire wall, and I looked at the available canyon trails that were already cut. I still have a set that is full siped, which needs to be tested and will be tested directly up against just a cut set. We can do the full canyon trail lineup. I've got an uncut set, we've got cut, we've got full siped, but I don't know, because these are run and these tires are used, I don't know which ones are S1 or RTR compound. They could all be S1s. There could be a mix of RTR and S1. They could all be RTR. I don't know. Some of them have been here for a while. If there is a difference, because they are used and appropriately feathered, I genuinely can't tell the difference. They feel exactly the same. Yeah. The younger brother can cut the inside. And he's a couple hours younger overall, so Zaymot is definitely the younger brother of the two. Yeah. I feel the 540 in ways that I didn't think I would. It is lighter to the point where it almost kind of bounces around. And yeah, what are we talking about? 2 ounces, 60 grams. It is also, at the top end, slower to an amount that is surprising, potentially above all of the other surprises. These gentlemen have 0 grams of added weight. They are stock VS410 chassis. And if they would have VS410 front bumpers, were it not for Vanquish's sell you the whole tree methodology, which is if you want a front bumper, it's $21.99 because you have to buy the tree that has the front bumper, the back bumper, and the side skirts for Phoenix. I could show you a potentially horrifying bin in there with so many Phoenix sides. I know that these are 2 ounces apart. They drive, that blue guy drives a pound lighter. Like, he feels like you're throwing him around just from that 540. I have so many Phoenix sliders, like 10, enough sets for 10, has to be. I'm not spending $21.99. These younger brother stuff, getting him back. Yeah, get him back. He ran you over, you get him back. These Amazon bumpers, which are these are cheese aluminum. These are silver butter. These are not, I don't even, is there such a thing as ungraded aluminum? Because if so, these bumpers are probably that. They were $9.99 each. So I spent $20 on 2 bumpers. And if you'll remember, I sanded the wheel hexes down so I wouldn't have to spend another $20. We went for economy because any changes made in the future, yeah, I gotta do it twice. Yeah, I think younger brother, 25% slower. So the numbers, 16 turn 5 slot 540 and 14 turn 5 slot 550, I'm not 100% sure they mean anything. So the 540 is much slower, is much more of a crawler motor. If I stay in that, will it? Ooh. No. Higher? Drag breaker just lets you roll back. Oh! Hey, look at that. Got a little perch. I think the rear wheel is on enough of a lip that held us down. Okay, didn't get it on the first try, brother. Brother! Ooh. That blue case in red sounds less than optimal. It's got a real grind to it. Get it? Yeah. They're right here when I'm trying to be as low speed as possible. But, 60 grams? What? Okay, try to replicate. Try to replicate the same line. When I said the blue, the 540 power, feels a pound lighter, he really does. He drives a lot lighter. And there's definitely more fidelity to the control. Okay, we just cut right here. We just cut right here and the other guy stayed down. Front end sliding away a little. This is a game of giving to get all the way across the board. Everything on blue feels better from that 540. Like everything power-wise, obviously. Other than that, they feel the same. And the differential between these two is 60 grams in a 550 versus a 540, and we cannot transfer this over. And remember, is it those couple grams that the 540 has perfect 50-50 cross and the other guy's 5149? That 2% on the high side, and he's like, I'm gone. A differential of about 70 grams. Yeah, look at that body pop. No. Yeah, I can't make it on the 540. We'll give him one. Ooh. Did we knock the pinion mesh a little bit? It's a little more growly now. Oh, dude. My anticipation was that red was gonna come out with more scars on the day. So much more planted here. Yeah, it makes no earthly sense. It's 60 grams. It's 60 grams. So how much lower would you have to gear the 550? Probably 2 or 3 teeth on the pinion to get them to be the same speed. And I think the top end speed is probably pretty close to right. So I would get right here, get here, and it would lift. And when I release throttle, it would go down. Is it that? There we go. He'll do the spot. But man, he is tight rope walking to get through there. So I will take this opportunity to thank everyone for joining us here in the canyon for this little exhibition of the build of the twins. It's a little bit of finish work now, paint, get their drivers situated, take that 540 out, take that 550 out, and put a 540 in there. Because, nope, you're right. Try different speed controls on the 550 to see if it gets any better. Anyway, that'll be the next installment. Thus brings us to an end of this installment. Thanks so much for watching this one. Please come back to the canyon again. Visit us real soon. Drop something down in the comments below. Check out the live stream every Friday, etc., etc. In between now and when we meet again, please want to all do your very best to have a good one, everybody. We'll see you again here from the canyon. Look at those two good boys. Look at those two good boys. We'll see you next time, everybody.